I don't know why I would think about fucking with filters. I have to show you guys this fire helmet. Look at that. I already got a like. How awesome is that? Okay, amigo. Alright, so let's go downstairs. I want to show you guys the three helmets I'm doing. I don't know why this says I'm going live at it later, and yet I understand this shit. So I'm gonna do the pour. I'm just gonna show you guys the helmets before, because I was planning on doing this live at 4:45 because the temperature is changing right now. I got full blast sun right now, and so I want the temperature to be within the range of where I need to pour the stuff. So I needed to do this. Okay, you guys, I needed to get these helmets ready because the three holidays that are coming up. One is called Dia del Niño, one is called Dia de Madre, and one is Dia de Bomberos. So Dia de Bomberos is Day of the Firefighter. So what the kids are gonna do, que los niños hacer, is like a mini kids fair, but for all firefighter themed stuff, and the kids run all the booths, all the events, like easy stuff. Like, look, when you and I were kids, there were fair things that you would throw darts at balloons and stuff like that. Now that's all been deemed unsafe for kids. And remember the BB guns that had like all the BBs in there, and it was like air powered, and you get like 100 BBs to shoot out the star. I mean, if you ever had the luxury of going to a fair and you were able to shoot an automatic fucking weapon at a piece of paper that had a star on it, and I used to feel so happy. I was happy to hit the star at all. Remember that star? You had the BB gun, and it would just. And this is at all the fairs. Okay, I might be referring to like South Florida fairs, stuff like that, Texas fairs, Germany fairs. They didn't have weapons in Germany. Um, yeah, bro. Anyway, I'm gonna try and just get through this because these helmets that we made are fit for these kids' heads. What we did not take in consideration is that, we have the hood to put on, and the kids prepare for a fire just like adults prepare for a fire. So they're putting a helmet on, and it's not like a construction helmet; it's an actual helmet. But we're not using this for them to do any kind of live fire exercises. This is just for marching, because, like I said, there are three holidays coming up here in Mexico. One is called Dia del Niño. One is called Dia del Madre. And one is called Dia de Bomberos. So all three of those holidays, there is a parade. And since we have upgraded the kids' uniforms, from just wearing t-shirts to wearing like class A service uniform. And today, which reminds me, I need to bring my tactical pants. I always wanted to have tactical pants with reflective stripes on them, but with high insight being 2020, like I design uniforms. Okay, I want to say that, okay, the most impressive uniforms of all time in any military have been the Germans. That is not to say that I agreed with anything that happened there. I'm just talking about the uniform itself being as sinister looking as it was. So whoever the fuck made that, who's a Hugo Boss or whatever, made those fucking uniforms for the, Homeboy was thinking out of the box. Because think about it, Brooks Brothers was the one that made the American military uniforms for fucking 200 years. And those are like solid wool. They were the shit right up until the Gulf War. Now, how many of you guys wore the old school chocolate chip if you were in the army? I'm not talking about desert camis, okay? Because when we came in, we were wearing woodland camo, okay? When we came in, and this is like right at the kickoff of the Gulf War, the first invasion of the Gulf War, we were wearing woodland camouflage. And so all of these things started to phase out after the first invasion. And you know what? Here's the funny part. When you go to the desert, I love this shit. I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but if you went to the desert and you were wearing green and people looked at you and you went like this, it's because after you've been in the desert for a long, long time, your eyes eventually adjust to everything being beige. Like even the trucks are painted pink, the buildings are beige, the desert is beige, everything is beige. So when you see somebody in green camouflage, or anything green for that matter, a tree, it actually hurts your eyes to look at. That's a weird fact. I don't know why. Okay, so here's another weird fact. I know I always talk about doing these pours, but I don't know why you guys ask, and then jump in the chat and then say nothing about it. Okay. So one of the weirdest shit that happened during my time in the desert. Well, I went out on the perimeters. You go outside the line with security forces because we had to put up like a berm, and we were resecuring the base. And so we were digging a berm and a ditch around the place, and then we had to put up these fucking cement walls and then put cables in them. And so they get the biggest fucking dudes. And at the time I was probably, 230 pounds, totally shredded. Because all we had to do in the desert was fucking work out and eat and sleep. Because it's so fucking hot outside, you can't actually do anything. So we're out on the outside of the wire at night with security forces. And he goes, "Hey, you want to see something?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he takes his flashlight out, and we're on four-wheelers. He takes his flashlight out and he puts it over the desert like this. And all you see, for as far as your eyes can see, is shiny, like it looks like diamonds. And I was like, "Wow, what is that? Like broken glass or something?" He goes, No. Hold on, let me show you again." He takes his flashlight, looks over the desert, and he goes, "You sure? What do you think it is?" "It looks like diamonds." "It's not broken glass. Those are eyes." Those are eyes of spiders. And so I'm out there let me tell you something, man. I don't give a shit how big you are, how big a dude you are. If you're a big and bad fucking motherfucker and you were forward deployed and you saw a fucking camel spider, you weren't like, "Oh, look at it, I want to play with it like it's a fucking tarantula." Because they jumped. And they would jump on you, and they were aggressive, and they would fucking bite your ass. And if they bit you, it felt like an electrical shock through your whole body. So those camel spiders were a real thing, okay? And anybody who tries to downplay it and say, "Oh, they weren't aggressive," wasn't there. That's just one of those things. They were as big as a fucking dollar bill. That's how big the spiders were. When I go out on a fucking outside the wire to go put these berms and shit in, because and we're looking out in the fucking desert with the fucking flashlight, and you see thousands of these shiny things, and the instructor's like, "What do you think that is?" I'm like, "I don't know. It looks like diamonds." And it's spiders. Spiders. So anyway, I got a lot of inspiration for a lot of the work I do, a lot of the artwork I do, from being in the Middle East. Being in the Middle East showed me a different world of what the world is like outside of what we think is the real fucking world. Because I was 17, I think, 18, 19, when the war kicked off. And that was the first time we've had a war since Vietnam. So at the time, the military, even prior to the invasion, was overtraining us. No, I'm not criticizing the way we were trained. It was awesome, and it taught us a lot of shit. But we were being really highly trained in the 90s. And I was really curious. I was like, has this always been like this? Because there are certain parts in certain branches that emphasize physicality, and there are other branches that emphasize technical skills. And I was lucky enough to be in civil engineering because I did not. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't want to lie to you guys and tell you I had this like fantastic fucking, superhero fucking career in the military. No, it was just as mediocre and just as boring as the next guys. Combat didn't make anything any different other than helping me to become accustomed to being fucking, shocked and making myself so resistant to the sound of fucking weapons and not caring. But what fucked me up pretty regularly was the highway of death. Saudi Arabia, for example, had no laws whatsoever for fucking driving, okay? And you think about the Autobahn driving as fast as you want. And back then, see, the Saudis weren't driving McLarens and shit. The Saudis were driving like Suburbans and like Caprices that had like 700 fucking horsepower. And if they crashed and they lived, because they had all the time, 15 minutes, they never wore seatbelts. In fact, they cut them out. Once you get a car, you cut the seatbelt out. And since the men are the only ones that drove, if they fucking crashed and wrecked their, whatever, Rolls Royce, they would just leave it on the side of the road. And nobody would come and assist in a vehicle collision or anything like that during at least my time in Saudi Arabia. I enjoyed okay, here's what made it so much fun. Because I would go downtown to the Gold Suits. And by the way, we were in a ceasefire. We're in Saudi Arabia, so all we're doing is just air shipments to Turkey and anything that went to Kuwait, it would all be routed through Saudi Arabia. Okay? And that would be through Prince Sultan Air Base, or we go to Ali Al Salim in Kuwait. So everybody who's been fucking, okay, I'm not telling anybody anything new. And if you don't know anything that I'm talking about, just listen carefully. Because Saudi Arabia has a super ancient culture. And so I noticed things. The markings on like their tea sets are markings like Mesopotamia. And it's all made out of brass. If you look, none of this stuff is made by the Saudis, by the way. It's all made by people from India. The Saudis do not work in Saudi Arabia. They have other shit to do. So they hire TCNs, which are called third country nationals. They're hired to come from Bangladesh and from Sri Lanka and from India and anywhere else where they're willing to work for $1 a day. And you might think, oh, that's ridiculous. Man, we're talking about the 90s, and their economy the dollar was so powerful to the dinar or anything else in that time. When a Saudi would hire 20 third country nationals to come and dig like 4 kilometers of trench to put fiber optic cable, these dudes would be out there in 130-degree weather every single day, digging with picks and shovels in ground that's harder than cement. And they'd be out there just wearing the bathrobes and covering their head. And every single day they would always say, picture, picture, me, you, picture, picture. And they wanted me to take pictures of them. Well, we didn't have camera phones back then. We had throwaway cameras. How many of you guys remember disposable cameras? Okay, so disposable cameras was what we had available during the Gulf War, and we only got them once a week. So the roach coach, so to speak, would send AFIS, Armed Forces, Federal Exchange Service would send like all the shit and junk food through this one service through APHIS, and they would bring it all the way out to wherever we were at, Al El Salim or Yusumidim or anywhere that we were. They had these roach coaches because they didn't have BXs and PXs at the time. Now they got fucking Burger Kings there. Ridiculous. We were Tent City, the original Tent City that we set up there in Kuwait, has a fucking McDonald's now. Imagine that. But good on them. So that's I re-enlisted on the fucking tops of the pyramids. My commander was an astronaut. You could not have asked for a better re-enlistment. These dudes, like I said, my service wasn't shit compared to these people. And yes, I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to tell. He was a fucking pilot in Vietnam. He was a pilot in the fucking Gulf War. 30-something years in service. You know, full-blood colonel. Passed over for general for his opinion about men and women. Passed over for general. Because he just refused to give in to the fucking bullshit. But he was an astronaut. Test pilot. You know, Air Force Academy. And this guy was my mentor. Do you know how hard it is? Okay, first of all, me in the fucking military it's good. Okay, it's a great job. At one time, it was one of the best things that you could do with yourself as a young person was to go into the military and go and be all you could be in the fucking army or aim fucking high Air Force. And there was the Marines who were the fucking toughest bitches, motherfuckers that ever was. And I say that with personal experience. I believe they were trying to kill me. So my hat's off to the Marines for giving me that experience to say, hey, you know what? My training sucks. It isn't good enough. My training is so piss poor that and this has nothing to do about being patriotic. This has to do with discipline. And we are so mediocre and so limp-wristed now that I'm not saying that we can't get the job done. We have the equipment and know how to do so. But anything fucking hand-to-hand, I mean, we still have the Marines. We have enough equipment to wipe everybody off the face of the fucking world with just a handful of carriers. Just a handful of carriers. Anything that would be domestic, if people were to like put on a special pair of fucking magic glasses and know who the fucking enemy was, you could have any standing army taken out easily with veterans from the fucking 90s era. Like I said, painfully overqualified to do a lot of shit because overtrained in preparation for a fucking a military action. Okay? Enough said about that, because that's exactly what the fuck happened. We were prepared for war to go fight a fucking war that was going to last for 20 years. There were guys that were stationed with me that had fucking babies. That when Afghanistan kicked off, they say they were born in 9/11. Their fucking children were privates in the army in Afghanistan. Okay? 20 years later. And I'm proud of all the boys. I'm proud of everybody. And now there's people busting our chops saying, oh, look at all the people you killed. Look at all the fucking thing based on a lie. You know what? Sure. We were all fucking hoodwinked. We were all tricked in whatever we believed was the right thing to do when we were doing it. Okay? I'm not saying it was right at all. What I am saying is that we went to fight a fucking war for patriotic reasons. For, fuck yeah, let's go kick somebody's ass for threatening democracy. Probably our only motivation behind that, because there were a few different kinds of guys in the military during I mean, because this was right before Bill Clinton. Okay, we're talking about Bush Sr. Bush Sr. was our commander in chief, and Dick Cheney, I believe, was a defense minister or whatever the fuck he was. But he had just hung it up with Halliburton. And so it was all a scheme to make money for these people. And it was all a scheme to use us young fucking guys as fucking cannon fodder in a war. And it pulled off the biggest fucking, longest fucking war that we'd had in a long fucking time. And we had a bunch of broken ass men as a result of it. Fucked up, coming back, being poisoned. I cannot speak for a lot of other people, but I can speak for a couple guys that I knew individually doing different rotations with the Army. And him and his entire unit were poisoned, and he ended up having to wear fucking a colostomy bag after losing, a battle with stomach cancer, and his name was Scott. This dude was cool, man. It was one of these guys. It was like a guy's guy, but he always, was at the VA because he was always having an infection and shit. And then his hair fell out, and he got leukemia, and he died. And I've been around so many guys now that have come and gone, and come and gone, and come and gone, and come and gone. Did I stop counting anymore? My first year or two, I think there were guys that were derosing back to the States. 39 guys died. Just that one rotation of people from the war. 39 guys. 39 guys in 1 year. And I'm wondering why I can't stop thinking about deleting myself every single day, every 30 minutes. And that is one of the reasons why they put in an express lane for mental health at the VA hospital. It's for guys like me. Because we don't come back normal if we come back. And at the time, I came back from the war, and my ex-wife would just try and provoke me constantly. Nagging was like the new indoor sport. I was gone all those months to Saudi Arabia, to Kuwait, to Iraq. So every single time that there was a deployment, it was my fault and all this shit. And we had the morale phones back then, so you only had 15 minutes to talk on the phone to your family when you're in the war, because we had landlines back then. There wasn't cell phones. The Saudis had cell phones, but we did not. And we were able to call back to the States using this landline phone. And what we would do is the operator at, Ali Al Salim or at or Riyadh or Dhahran, or at Doha, if you were connected to the military operator military will contact the other operator at your home base, and they would patch you through to your home, and it wouldn't cost anything. And so everybody would be in this line. It would be probably 45 minutes to an hour of just waiting to use the morale phone. I love that. The morale phone. You know how many dudes were cheated on during the war while we were deployed? Dudes' wives getting fucking pregnant and just arriving back in time for the baby to be born. But wait a minute. You were deployed for a year and a half. How'd that happen? It's because of Jody. Anywho, I'm going to go downstairs. We're going to do a very nice, because I think the temperature is down enough now. We can do the red pour now, because the temperature, I don't think you quite understand that you don't want to do resin pours if it's too hot or if it's under a certain temperature or cold, because then it'll just stay sticky. And I wanted to show you guys, if I could, when one of the pieces that's hardening up right now, what's happening is there's a vapor that's popping off the top of it, as the resin is hardening. But if it was cold, you wouldn't see that. So, like I said, I'm in Mexico right now, and I'm doing a job for 15 children down here at the fire academy. And they don't have money. So I said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we have like a paper mache fire helmet, and then I will paint them and do a resin job on them. You know, we'll put whatever you want. One kid, he's got a red helmet. So I said, hey, why don't we do this? We'll put some silver, they call it diamantina, but all it is just regular glitter. Put some silver glitter. I'll put about 5 grams into probably 250 mLs of just clear resin, and mix that up until it's clear. No bubbles, no nothing. This is so easy to do. So I said, no, why don't we do it differently? I'm going to do a black base, and on top of my black base, I'm going to put a metallic aluminum with just enough silver to kind of, how would I put it? I want to make it cloudy. Okay, with so much glitter in it that it's almost looking like it's gray paint. Okay, but it's still just transparent. And this is resin. So I'm mixing it up. Gray, boom, it's clear. Then I'm going to pour it on top of my base coat, okay, which you already know is black. Now what's going to happen now, that aluminum and that silver, that's going to be like a reflector inside of like a light fixture. And so once I sand it down one time, that's going to expose some of the glitter that's down inside of the resin. Then I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. Boom. It's going to be clear. It'll be so shiny, it'll be almost impossible to photograph because it looks like a mirror. Now, I want to give you guys a little creepy information about when I took the pictures of the first helmet. Now, as many of you guys know, I am a Christian. I am a Serbian Orthodox Christian man that I live in Mexico, and all I'm doing right now is just working with kids to help them and their parents develop discipline via the fire academy here in Mexico for the kids. And it's great. They don't have money for equipment. For example, a fire helmet is very heavy, and especially for a kid that's 6, 7, 8 years old. So since we're marching, I don't see a real reason in giving one of the kids a $2,000 or $3,000 helmet to wear out on the street to learn how to practice marching. If we were practicing real live fire, I would say, yeah, they're going to wear a real helmet. But we're not doing any of that. Okay, we just had new uniforms made for the day of the children, for the day of the mothers, and the day of the firefighters. So those are the 3 days, and that's why I'm asking you guys to, at least if you're down here, help me get all of their gear that they need. So the first person did was they sent all the t-shirts. So we got all those t-shirts. Now we're printing their logo for the academy. That's all done. So that was all taken care of. And it's one of these things, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're a volunteer or if you are paid or whatever, you know, you're always going to do twice as much as you're going to get paid for. So that's why I would rather not get paid to do anything, and I don't have anything emotionally attached to anything down here. So I can just live here for free, indirectly. I'm actually paying for it. And I can supervise all the classes. And I can send all the kids' moms and dads the videos from them learning how to do jiu-jitsu, how to do judo. And so also live feeds when we do have an event. So we have events so often and so frequently that it seems like the people are starting to believe that the park belongs to us. and it doesn't belong to us. It's just a park that we adopted because it was abandoned. We cleaned it up. And I was like, this is too easy. I was like, we have our own classroom. Then we have a nice, beautiful aluminum overhang with barrel tiles. We have a running track that goes around it. We have an AstroTurf gym outside, basically. We have a corner which has all, tables and stuff, and we put in our own mulching station so people can put in their vegetables and make new soil so we can plant. We have our own gardening club. We have a salsa dancing club. So there's all these things. There are activities that people ought to be doing but don't do because they're too ashamed, because things cost money, and they assume automatically if it doesn't cost money, there's something to be embarrassed of. And it makes a good point, because it's like, if people are going to make fun of you for something that you have no control over, it's irrational. Because if you think about it, if you go visit somebody, you're going to go visit somebody. I go visit somebody, and they're having like a get together, and they have like a buffet style thing where they might have tacos, and they might have like guisados, and they might have salad, and they might have like sweets or like bread. They might have like coffee, and someone might bring pizza. Okay, you guys know this. Pizza is like a delicacy, and everybody eats tacos breakfast, lunch, and dinner in every household in Mexico every single day, all of their life, except in northern Mexico. That's like burritos and stuff. But everywhere else in Mexico, they have tacos with yellow corn, and they have the white flour. And those are just the types of tortillas that in the north they use white flour, and in the south they use yellow corn. And in places like Puebla that have blue corn, they use blue corn too. So if you've ever seen like blue tortillas, what that is, it's just blue corn. It's no different. It doesn't taste any better or any worse. It is blue tortillas. So anyway, the point is I'm making here is that now we're into our second year here at the Fire Academy, and we have had cycles of 30 kids come through the last cycle, which was great. The one before that was our hardcore kids, whose dads were very heavily involved. Grateful to God for that. And as the more dads got involved, the more risky and dangerous the training became, like doing rappelling. Okay? Now, I do this out of the kindness of my heart. I don't do this for money, and I'll do this to get anything whatsoever other than to teach kids how to train difficult tasks. Because kids that don't learn how to do things will be dependent on their moms if their dad's not around. So, in order to ensure the kids are going to grow up to be stable kids and not end up in prison, we developed this program to teach kids self-defense, UFC style fighting. Every single day we do training. Every single day we do activities, whether it be boxing, jiu-jitsu, judo, weightlifting, self-defense with knives, with chairs, with batons. Then on the off days we do, fire hoses, we do ladders, we do maintenance on trucks, we teach the kids plumbing, we teach the kids electrical. We had sad to say, guys, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we had our welding coach. He recently passed away. He was sick, and he was in the hospital for 2 months. And if you guys have seen any of our welding videos, you'll know that Polo was part of our team here in this town. He happened to live 2 doors down from me, and he gave me a welder of quality, bar none, second to none. One of these guys the Mexican Navy used for underwater pipeline fucking welding and shit. So he went off to space, and I talked to him every single day until he didn't answer anymore. And I had charged up his phone. He was out of minutes when he was in the hospital. So I put some money on his book, so to speak, as God bonded him out. Bonded him out of the hospital. Anyway, he went on to be with the Lord probably 2 months ago. And he was a good man. He didn't teach me anything. He did not teach me one single lick of welding. He didn't teach me anything. But what he did teach me was how to be a perfectionist. Welding needs to be clean. Welding needs to be, very evident of the amount of work involved for every joint, every connection, everything, every spot, everything is in place before you get started. Everything is measured twice. So, also everything is neat. If it isn't neat, it isn't even welding. It's some jackass with a fucking welder that's of low wattage, that doesn't have enough power, who is fucking welding with a bicycle spoke. Okay, he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's trying to weld aluminum without a brazier. Anyway, I got to get after it with this, you guys, because we have so many projects now we get caught up on, and I need a welder. And this isn't even funny. We need a welder that's here. Yep. So now I'm going to jump out the Jaguar. Okay. And I think we're going to do something with the Audi. I think we need a vehicle that is a little less conspicuous. Because now I'm trying to finish doing the castle. And I can, listen guys, I'm bullshitting you guys that there are people getting fucking shot at and killed every single day where that region that the castle is. So if I drive there with this Audi, they don't give a shit if it's brand new or not. It's got a fucking, you know what I'm saying? It's a patrol car. They're killing cops. They're killing firefighters. They don't fucking know who I am. They see me from a distance, bam, bam, kill you. And then steal the car. So no, I'm not going back there until I get a green light from the people that are there now. Until then, I'm fortunate enough to be able to talk to the architect. Whenever shit gets done, he goes there himself with his associate, opens the gate, lets the workers in. They do exactly what they're fucking told for as long as they're told. And then they close the shit back up, close the gate, get the fuck out. So I don't have to go there. So was because Don Polo was our welder. We have the chicken bus outside that needs to be put together. We have the buggy, 4-wheel drive buggy that drives by itself, that needs to have the trailer hitch put on, and that gets connected to the back of the Hormiga, which is in the garage. That needs to be put together. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles. Only one is drivable, but can't drive it to the place that we need to go because it's too fancy. Now, I'm not saying that, no, do not go get a nice car and move to Mexico. On the contrary, you be contrary to everything people tell you. Because, you know what I mean? It's not like the Walking fucking Dead here. People are allowed to have stuff. It's not Medellin either. It's not Colombia. Walking around with your cell phone in Colombia is just asking for it. You can walk around with your fucking head up your ass here and no one fucks with you. So that's my take on everything today, guys. You make sure that you tune back in, for we're going to be doing the live pour on the helmet shortly. All I'm waiting for is the temperature to go down. It's way too fucking hot right now. So I'm the professor. I hope you check in later for us to do that last pour on those 3 helmets that we just did. I'm out.